You didn't just lose her interest. You lost your footing. One day, she looks at you like you matter. Her eyes linger. Her voice softens. You feel chosen finally. And then it happens. The shift. No explanation. No argument. Just distance. Short replies. Cold energy. A silence that hits harder than rejection. And you're left alone with your thoughts, replaying everything like a crime scene. What did I say wrong? What did I do differently? Where did it all collapse? That confusion eats at men. Not because they're weak, but because nothing hurts more than emotional whiplash without a reason. You weren't careless. You weren't inexperienced. You didn't mess it up. That's the lie that keeps you stuck. The real pain comes from believing something changed when it didn't. You've watched her say one thing, then do the opposite. You've felt the connection in your chest, then watched it evaporate overnight. And every time, you asked the same desperate question. What changed you think changed? What failed you wasn't effort. It wasn't timing. It wasn't masculinity. It was your angle of vision. You were staring at the surface, her words, her moods, her explanations, while the real decision had already been made somewhere deeper. Beneath language, beneath emotion, beneath even her conscious awareness. Women don't move the way you were taught to look. They don't operate on clean logic or stable narratives. They move through internal states that silently rewrite reality as they go. And when those states shift, everything else follows without warning, without explanation, without apology. This video won't teach you how to get women. It does something far more unsettling. It forces you to see the mechanism behind the chaos, so you stop blaming yourself for what was never happening on the surface in the first place. Men are taught to believe attraction is about who they are, your confidence, your status, your looks, your words. You're conditioned to think that if you stay consistent, if you don't change your behavior, the outcome shouldn't change either. Same input, same result. That's how logic works. That's how men work. And that assumption is exactly what keeps you confused when it comes to women. Because women don't experience attraction as a fixed judgment. They experience it as a state. And states are fluid. A woman doesn't wake up asking, "Is this man still attractive on paper?" She wakes up inside a feeling. Calm, restless, anxious, alive, bored, grounded. And that internal state becomes the lens through which she perceives everything, including you. This is why the same man can feel magnetic to her one week and emotionally invisible the next, without changing a single thing. Not because she's inconsistent, but because her internal environment shifted, and reality reshaped itself around it. You've seen this play out in real life. One week, she leans in. She laughs easily. She touches your arm. Conversations flow. You feel momentum. Then the following week, nothing lands. Your jokes fall flat. Her replies are shorter. The warmth is gone. You start overanalyzing, assuming you did something wrong. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The man didn't change. The state did. And when her internal state changes, her perception of you changes with it. Attraction didn't disappear. It was reframed. To a woman, reality isn't fixed. It reshapes itself around how she feels in the moment. When she feels grounded and emotionally open, you appear attractive, safe, exciting. When she feels overwhelmed, uncertain, or internally conflicted, the same presence can suddenly feel heavy or wrong. This is why men who obsess over consistency lose their footing. They're trying to negotiate with a moving target using static rules. If you want to understand women differently, stop tracking what she says. Words are the last layer. They're explanations created after the feeling has already passed. Instead, start observing when her energy shifts. Does her body turn toward you or away? Does her tone soften or harden? Does she initiate contact or simply respond? These signals tell you far more than any explanation ever will. When you stop personalizing these shifts and start reading them as states, confusion fades. You're no longer chasing answers, you're reading the environment, and that changes everything. Once you understand that women move through internal states, the next question becomes unavoidable: what controls those states? This is where most men get it wrong, because they assume confusing behavior comes from indecision, manipulation, or emotional chaos. In reality, the invisible driver behind most female behavior is far simpler and far more powerful. Emotional self-preservation. Women are wired to constantly monitor how safe, alive, and regulated they feel on the inside. Not logically, nervously, instinctively. Their nervous system is always scanning the environment, asking a quiet question: does this feel stabilizing? Or does this feel threatening? And sometimes, just as dangerously, does this feel dead? This is why women are far more sensitive to emotional risk than men. Emotional risk doesn't mean danger in the dramatic sense. It means loss of stimulation, loss of polarity, loss of identity, or loss of feeling. When things become too stable, too predictable, too emotionally flat, something inside her tightens. Not because stability is bad, but because emotional flatness feels like suffocation to a nervous system built for constant feedback. So she pulls away. She creates distance. She disrupts the rhythm. From the outside, it looks irrational. From the inside, it feels like survival. You've seen this before. Things are going well. No conflict, no tension. And suddenly she becomes colder, less available. Or she introduces friction where none existed, questioning you, challenging small things, changing her tone. She's not trying to ruin the connection. She's trying to feel something again. Her system is unconsciously moving away from emotional numbness and towards stimulation. Sometimes that stimulation comes from excitement. Sometimes it comes from uncertainty. And sometimes it comes from testing. This is why women often test reactions instead of asking directly. She won't say, "Do you still have emotional control?" She'll withdraw slightly. She'll change her energy. She'll create a subtle disruption and watch what happens next. If you panic, over-explain, chase clarity, or emotionally collapse, her nervous system registers instability. Not attraction, instability. But if you remain grounded, present without pursuit, calm without withdrawal, her system relaxes. Not because you passed a test, but because you didn't become a threat to her emotional balance. Women don't sabotage connection because they're chaotic. They do it because their nervous system is scanning for danger or excitement, sometimes both at once. The practical shift for you is simple, but uncomfortable. Stop interpreting her behavior as a verdict on your worth. Start reading it as information about her internal state. When you do that, you stop reacting emotionally, and that alone changes the dynamic. As you start seeing behavior as state-driven and self-protective, a pattern becomes impossible to ignore. There are men women feel comfortable moving toward, and men they feel something far stronger for. Comfort invites approach. Stability invites proximity. But comfort alone rarely creates pursuit. The men women approach are predictable. Their emotions are visible. Their intentions obvious. Their reactions safe. She knows where she stands. She knows what response she'll get. There's no emotional risk in reaching for him, because nothing unexpected will happen. These men feel easy to access, easy to read, easy to place. And ease, while pleasant, doesn't stimulate the nervous system for long. Then there is a completely different category of man, the one women don't simply approach, but feel pulled to chase. Not because he's distant or cold, but because he is emotionally grounded. His internal state doesn't rise and fall with her moods. Approval doesn't inflate him. Disapproval doesn't shake him. He isn't waiting for emotional permission to exist. His life continues to move work, purpose, rhythm, whether she leans in or pulls back. And that internal stability creates something powerful, uncertainty without chaos. This is where most men misunderstand the psychology. Women don't chase men who want them. Wanting is visible. Wanting seeks reassurance. Wanting reacts. Women chase men who are unmoved by being wanted. Because when a man doesn't reorganize himself around her reactions, her nervous system loses leverage. And when leverage disappears, curiosity appears. Curiosity pulls attention inward. Attention creates attachment. You've seen this dynamic in real life. The man who immediately asks, "Are we okay?" when her energy shifts. The man who rushes to clarify, to explain, to fix. Contrast that with the man who notices the shift, but doesn't chase it. He doesn't collapse under her mood swings. He doesn't emotionally spike when she withdraws. He remains present, but unchanged, not withdrawn, not defensive, just stable. This isn't about acting uninterested. It's about being internally centered. The practical application is subtle, but decisive when her energy fluctuates. Don't rush to stabilize it. Let it move. Continue your life rhythm. Respond when there's something real to respond to, but don't react to emotional noise. The moment you stop orienting yourself around her emotional weather, you move from being approachable to being compelling. And once you see this distinction, you can't unsee it. There is a specific moment where the dynamic quietly flips, and most men miss it because it feels counterintuitive. It happens when a woman reaches for emotional leverage and doesn't find it. Emotional leverage is simple when your reactions move with her behavior. She has influence. When your mood rises when she leans in and collapses when she pulls away. She becomes the emotional center of gravity. That leverage feels powerful at first, desired, important, but power kills curiosity faster than rejection ever could. Here's how it usually plays out. She pulls back slightly. Less warmth, less initiation. Not because she wants to end things, but because she expects movement. Pursuit, reassurance, an emotional signal that confirms her influence. Most men respond instantly. They text more. They ask questions. They try to stabilize the connection. And in doing so, they hand her the very thing her nervous system was testing for control. The moment she feels that control, the tension collapses, not into closeness, but into certainty. And certainty ends pursuit. Now watch the alternative. She pulls away, and nothing dramatic happens. He notices. But he doesn't rush. He doesn't confront. He doesn't withdraw either. His tone stays steady. His life continues uninterrupted. There's no punishment, no chase, no emotional spike, just presence without dependency. And this is where her mind starts working. Not because he's playing a game, but because the expected feedback loop broke. Her nervous system reaches for leverage and finds none. That absence creates a gap, and the mind hates gaps. Curiosity enters that gap. Why didn't he react? Why didn't he pursue? Did I misjudge his investment? Am I losing influence? And without him saying a word, her attention turns inward. She starts filling the silence with meaning, not logic projection. This is where attachment forms. Not because of words exchanged, but because her mind is now engaged. Silence isn't powerful because it's strategic. It's powerful because it forces her mind to do the work. The application here is precise when her energy shifts. Don't rush to resolve it. Let space exist without explanation. Maintain your rhythm. Respond when there's substance, not when there's tension. Emotional non-reactivity isn't coldness, it's stability. And stability, when it can't be controlled, becomes magnetic. At this point, it's critical to clear something up, because this is where weak interpretations turn strong insights into damage. What you've heard so far is not an invitation to ignore women, withdraw emotionally, or turn yourself into a silent chess player. That kind of cold calculation is obvious, and women feel it immediately. Emotional absence doesn't create attraction. Emotional self-regulation does. The difference matters. The man who creates pull isn't someone who disappears when things get uncertain. He's present. He listens. He engages. But he doesn't hand over his internal balance to someone else's emotional fluctuations. He has an internal center. His sense of worth doesn't rise when she's warm or collapse when she's distant. And because of that, his presence feels stable instead of needy, grounded instead of performative. This is where most men go wrong in real life. A woman's mood shifts, and they treat it like an emergency. They rush to respond, to clarify, to fix. They ask questions that aren't really questions. They're bids for reassurance. Did I do something? Are we okay? You feel different? None of this is wrong morally, but psychologically, it communicates dependence on the outcome. And dependence is what drains polarity. The alternative isn't silence, it's pacing. You respond, but you don't react. You let her emotional wave pass without trying to surf it. You notice patterns over time instead of panicking over moments. One quiet evening means nothing. One distant message means nothing. But a consistent shift in energy tells a story. And stories only reveal themselves when you stop interrupting them. Think of a man with a full life rhythm work. Purpose, friendships, physical discipline. When her energy fluctuates, his day doesn't derail. He doesn't punish. He doesn't pursue. He simply remains himself. And that consistency is felt, not consciously but emotionally. Her nervous system registers that his stability doesn't depend on her approval, and that creates a quiet form of respect. The man women feel drawn to isn't mysterious. He's simply not emotionally dependent on the outcome. He's invested, but not attached. Present, but not anchored to validation. When you embody that, you don't need to manage dynamics. They manage themselves. And that's the point where attraction stops feeling like effort and starts feeling inevitable. At some point, if you've been paying attention, something inside you shifts, not emotionally, but perceptually. You stop experiencing women as problems to solve, signals to decode, or verdicts on your worth. And that single change rewires everything. Because the moment you stop treating women like puzzles, confusion loses its grip. Women aren't puzzles meant to be cracked with the right move or the right sentence. They're emotional systems, dynamic, responsive, and constantly adjusting to internal conditions. When you mistake a system for a problem, you fight it. When you recognize it as a system, you observe it. This is where most men trap themselves. A woman's energy shifts, and they immediately internalize it. They assume guilt, failure, loss. They ask, silently or out loud, "What did I do wrong?" That question poisons clarity, because it forces every change to become personal. And once it's personal, objectivity dies. You stop seeing what is happening and start defending who you are. That's when overthinking begins. That's when chasing starts. That's when self-respect quietly erodes. The reframe is simple, but brutal to accept. Her shifts are rarely about you. They're about her internal state colliding with the environment, including you. When you stop personalizing those shifts, you regain your footing. You stop reacting emotionally and start noticing patterns. You see when she leans in during certain states and pulls back during others. You recognize when distance is about overwhelm, not rejection. When tension is about stimulation, not conflict. And suddenly, behavior that once felt chaotic becomes readable. This isn't detachment, it's clarity. You still care, but you don't collapse. You stay present without trying to control outcomes. In real life, this means you don't interrogate silence. You don't rush to label moments. You let time reveal direction. One quiet day doesn't shake you. One warm night doesn't inflate you. You stay anchored to yourself, and that anchor becomes the reference point. When you stop asking, "What did I do wrong?" and start asking, "What state is she in?" everything becomes clear, not because women become predictable, but because you do. And that predictability, rooted in self-control, is what finally breaks the cycle of confusion. You don't need answers from her anymore. You can see what's happening without needing it explained. And once you see women this way, you don't just date differently, you move differently, and you never go back. If you followed this all the way through, the change that's happening right now isn't intellectual. You're not sitting there thinking, "I learned something new about women." What's happening is quieter than that. Your posture toward the world is shifting. You're no longer standing inside the chaos, trying to control it. You're standing outside it, watching it move. And that's the difference between men who are constantly confused and men who are never shaken. This was never about controlling women. Control is the fantasy of insecure men. It's the belief that if you just say the right thing, act the right way, manage the moment perfectly, you'll never feel uncertainty again. But certainty has never been what creates attraction. Presence does. And presence only exists when you're in control of yourself. When you stop outsourcing your emotional stability to her reactions, something irreversible happens. You stop chasing clarity. You stop demanding explanations. You stop needing every interaction to confirm your value. In real life, this looks simple. You don't rush to fill silence. You don't interrogate distance. You don't cling to warmth as proof of safety. You let moments be moments, and patterns reveal themselves over time. That patience isn't passive, it's power. Men who make this shift don't become colder. They become steadier. They still feel desire, interest, curiosity, but none of it owns them. And women feel that immediately, not consciously, nervously. A man who is grounded in himself becomes a reference point. His calm sets the emotional tone. His non-reactivity removes leverage. His consistency creates gravity, and gravity doesn't chase. It pulls. This is why, once you truly see what's happening beneath the surface, you won't go back to the old questions. You won't ask, "How do I get her?" You'll ask, "Am I centered right now?" And that single question changes everything, because when you're centered, dynamics resolve themselves. When you're centered, attraction stops feeling like effort. When you're centered, you're no longer at war with uncertainty, you're immune to it. This isn't about controlling women, it's about controlling yourself. And once you do, you won't need to chase, because you'll finally see what's actually happening. Pinned comment. The moment I stopped reacting emotionally, everything changed.